Car dealers are literally begging people to buy these vehicles right now. I'm talking about brand new cars sitting on lots for over 300 days. That's almost a full year. And while some models are flying off the lots in less than 24 days, others are collecting dust faster than your grandmother's china cabinet. Today, I'm going to show you exactly which cars you can get the best deals on, and more importantly, which ones you should avoid paying full price for. But before we dive in, you need to understand something crucial about how car dealerships work. When a car sits on a lot, it costs the dealer money every single day. We're talking floor plan financing, insurance, maintenance, and even depreciation. And right now, some dealers are getting desperate. How desperate? Well, let's just say I've never seen numbers quite like this in all my years analyzing the auto market. Here's what's really interesting though. The cars that aren't selling aren't necessarily the ones you'd expect. In fact, some of these might shock you, especially number one on our list. And if you're thinking about buying a new car in the next few months, this information could literally save you thousands of dollars. I'm talking about potential discounts that could put a down payment on your next house. First, let's break down what we mean by slow-selling cars. We measure this using something called market days supply. That's the number of days it would take to sell all currently available vehicles at the current sales rate. The higher this number, the more negotiating power you have at the dealership. Think of it as a leverage meter. The higher it goes, the more desperate dealers become to move these vehicles. Let's dive into our top 10 slowest-selling cars. And trust me, you'll want to stick around for number one because it's absolutely mind-blowing. The Nissan Z, 216 days supply. Let's put this in perspective. There are almost 2,000 of these sports cars just sitting on lots nationwide, yet only 396 have sold in the last 45 days. At $54,000, this Nissan is having a serious identity crisis. When you're asking Porsche money for a Nissan badge, you might want to rethink your strategy. But here's the opportunity. If you've always wanted a Z, dealers might be more willing to negotiate than ever before. Mitsubishi Mirage G4-2, 18 days supply. Now this one's fascinating. We're looking at 3,400 units nationwide with only 705 sold in the last 45 days. At $19,653, it's one of the most affordable new cars you can buy. But here's the kicker. It's actually struggling to sell despite being one of the few sub-20,000 vehicles left in America. The announcement of its discontinuation might be playing a role here, but that also means dealers might be extra motivated to clear their inventory. Porsche Taycan, 222 days supply. This is where things get really interesting. We've got 2,291 units of this luxury electric vehicle sitting nationwide, with only 464 sold in the past 45 days. At an average transaction price of $145,000, this shows that even the luxury EV market isn't immune to slowdowns. But think about this. When was the last time you could negotiate on a Porsche? Maserati Grecale, 222 days supply. With 893 units for sale and only 211 sold recently, this $80,000 Italian luxury SUV is proving that brand cash alone doesn't guarantee sales. The market is clearly saying something here, and it might be time for dealers to start getting creative with their pricing. Chrysler Voyager, 229 days supply. Here's a head-scratcher. Chrysler thought bringing back the Voyager when the Pacifica wasn't selling well was a good idea. Now we've got almost 1,200 units nationwide with only 232 sold in the last 45 days. At $41,000, you have to wonder if the minivan market is shifting more than we thought. But for families looking for a deal, this could be your moment. Cadillac CT4, 234 days supply. Now we're getting into the really slow movers. With 2,725 units available and only 523 sold recently, this $50,000 luxury sedan is struggling to find its audience. The problem? It's competing in a segment where BMW and Mercedes have traditionally dominated. But here's the thing. This might be the best time to get into a Cadillac if you've been waiting. Alfa Romeo Giulia, 254 days supply. Italian passion isn't selling like it used to. With 1,157 units available and just 205 sold, this $55,000 sports sedan is sitting pretty. Too pretty, in fact. But let me tell you something interesting. These cars typically have some of the highest markups in the industry. With these numbers, that markup is likely negotiable now. Audi A3, 275 days supply. This is fascinating because the A3 was actually our slowest selling champion a few months ago. We're looking at 3,441 units nationwide, with only 564 sold. At $42,000, it's actually one of Audi's more affordable models, but that's not helping it move any faster. The entry-level luxury segment seems to be in a real transition period. Mazda Miata, 284 days supply. Now this is shocking. The beloved Miata, with 2,000 units available, and only 325 sold in the last 45 days. But here's where timing matters. We're in the middle of winter, and convertibles traditionally struggle during cold months. At $35,000, this might be the perfect time to think ahead to summer and score a deal. Dodge Charger, 312 days supply. And here it is, folks. Our slowest selling vehicle in America. The numbers are staggering. 6,857 units available, less than 1,000 sold in 45 days, and a $50,000 average transaction price. But there's something bigger happening here. With Dodge announcing the end of their gas-powered muscle cars, you'd think these would be flying off lots. Instead, they're sitting. This tells us something important about the market right now. The patterns we're seeing in today's automotive market tell a fascinating story about where the industry is headed. When we look at the price distribution of these slow-selling vehicles, we're witnessing something unprecedented. Historically, slower-selling vehicles were predominantly in the higher price brackets. Think luxury vehicles and specialty sports cars. But today, we're seeing vehicles ranging from the $19,000 Mitsubishi Mirage all the way up to the $145,000 Porsche Taycan struggling to find homes. This price spread is particularly telling about our current economic climate. When a budget-friendly car like the Mirage sits on lots for over 200 days, it signals a fundamental shift in entry-level buyer behavior. The traditional wisdom that affordable cars always sell in tough times simply doesn't hold true anymore. We're seeing a market polarization where the middle is getting squeezed from both ends. The brand distribution in our slowest-selling list is equally revealing. Japanese manufacturers like Nissan and Mazda, traditionally known for their strong resale values and reliable sales performance, are finding themselves in unfamiliar territory. The Nissan Z and Mazda Miata, both iconic in their own right, are struggling to connect with buyers despite their strong brand heritage. This suggests that brand loyalty might be taking a backseat to other factors in purchase decisions. European luxury brands are also showing interesting patterns. When we see Porsche, Alfa Romeo, and Audi all appearing on the slow-selling list, it tells us that the luxury market is becoming increasingly selective. The days of premium badges automatically commanding premium prices might be waning. Buyers in this segment appear to be more discerning, possibly waiting for the right combination of features, performance, and value. American manufacturers' presence on this list, particularly with vehicles like the Dodge Charger and Cadillac CT4, reveals another layer of complexity. The Charger situation is particularly intriguing. Despite being in its final years of production, it's not seeing the rush of last-chance buyers we might expect. This could indicate a broader shift away from traditional American muscle cars, even as they approach collector status. What's perhaps most significant is how this data reflects changing consumer priorities. The presence of both electric vehicles and traditional gas-powered cars on the slow-selling list suggests that the market isn't simply shifting toward one particular powertrain type. Instead, we're seeing a more nuanced evolution, where factors like utility, efficiency, and overall value proposition are becoming increasingly important, regardless of the vehicle's category or price point. This market fragmentation is creating unprecedented opportunities for buyers, but it's also forcing manufacturers to rethink their entire approach to product planning and pricing strategy. The traditional segments and pricing tiers that the industry has relied on for decades appear to be dissolving, replaced by a more complex web of consumer preferences and economic factors. Now, let's flip the script and look at what's actually flying off dealer lots. These numbers tell an equally fascinating story about where consumer demand is strongest, and the results might surprise you. Starting with number 10, the Toyota Camry is showing a remarkably tight 33-day supply. Now, this is crucial to understand. we're looking at over 28,000 new Camrys available nationwide, but they've managed to sell an astounding 38,488 units in just 45 days. At $35,000 average transaction price, this proves that the right sedan at the right price point can still dominate the market, despite all the talk about the death of sedans. The BMW X5 comes in at number 9 with a 32-day supply. Here's where things get interesting. At $82,000 average transaction price, we're seeing strong demand in the luxury SUV segment. With 5,932 units available and 8,374 sold in the last 45 days, it's clear that buyers with means aren't hesitating to spend on the right vehicle. This directly contradicts what we're seeing with some other luxury brands on our slow-selling list. The GMC Yukon holds position 8 with another 32-day supply. At $83,000 average transaction price, we're seeing a clear pattern emerge. Large luxury SUVs are hot right now. With 4,600 units available and 6,600 sold recently, it's evident that fuel prices aren't deterring buyers from these premium full-size SUVs. Moving to number 7, the Lexus NX with a 31-day supply represents the sweet spot of luxury crossovers. At $50,000, it hits a more accessible price point than some others on this list. And the numbers show it. Nearly 3,000 available, but over 4,300 sold in 45 days. This suggests that right-sized luxury with the right badge still commands strong demand. The Toyota RAV4 at number 6 tells perhaps the most impressive story of volume and velocity. With a 31-day supply, we're looking at 40,000 units available nationwide, but they've moved almost 60,000 in 45 days. At just under $38,000, this represents the perfect storm of pricing, practicality, and brand reputation. The top 5 starts with the Lexus ES Hybrid, showing a 30-day supply. This is particularly noteworthy because it demonstrates strong demand for efficient luxury, with 1,168 available, but 1,773 sold at a $52,000 price point. The hybrid premium sedan market isn't dead, it's just become more selective. The BMW X6 claims the 4th position with a 29-day supply, and these numbers are particularly telling. With only 754 units available nationwide and 1,190 sold in the last 45 days at a staggering $90,000 average transaction price, it proves that distinctive design and brand prestige can still command premium prices. The X6's success, despite its controversial styling and high price point, suggests that uniqueness in the luxury segment can actually drive demand rather than hinder it. In 3rd place, the Lexus RX maintains its stronghold with a 28-day supply. This is remarkable when you consider the volume, nearly 4,000 units available, but over 6,300 sold in just 45 days. At just under $60,000, it hits what appears to be the sweet spot for luxury SUV pricing. The RX's performance tells us that when manufacturers nail the combination of brand reputation, price point, and product execution, the market responds enthusiastically. The runner-up spot belongs to the Cadillac Escalade, and this is where the numbers become truly eye-opening. With a 24-day supply, we're seeing 2,899 units available, but nearly 5,500 sold in the past 45 days. Here's the kicker. These are moving at an average transaction price of almost $115,000. This defies conventional wisdom about price resistance in uncertain economic times. The Escalade's success suggests that the luxury SUV market has become increasingly stratified, with the top end showing remarkable resilience. And now for our fastest-selling vehicle in America, the Lexus GX. With a 24-day supply, matching the Escalade's turnover rate but with different volume metrics, we're seeing something special. There are 2,000 units available nationwide, but nearly 4,000 have sold in the last 45 days at an $80,000 average transaction price. The GX's dominance tells us several things about the current market. Buyers are willing to pay premium prices for perceived quality, off-road capability still matters, and brand reputation can actually accelerate sales rather than just support them. Looking at these fastest sellers as a group reveals some crucial market insights. First, we're seeing a clear premium brand dominance, with Lexus, BMW, and Cadillac all represented in the top spots. This directly contrasts with our slowest-selling list, suggesting that the luxury market isn't struggling uniformly. It's becoming more selective. The price points of our fastest sellers are particularly noteworthy. While we might expect more moderate-priced vehicles to move quickly, we're actually seeing strong performance across a broad price spectrum, from the $35,000 Camry to the $115,000 Escalade. This indicates that price sensitivity isn't the primary driver of sales velocity. It's the value proposition relative to the segment. What's perhaps most telling is the body style distribution among our fastest sellers. SUVs and crossovers dominate the list, but not just any SUVs. These are vehicles that hit particular sweet spots in their segments, whether it's the RAV4's mainstream appeal or the GX's luxury meets capability positioning. This suggests that while the SUV trend continues, success within this category requires precise positioning and execution. Let me tell you something fascinating about what's happening right now in 2025. And trust me, this directly affects which cars are sitting on lots and which ones you can't even get your hands on. We're seeing something I've never witnessed in all my years analyzing the auto market. Remember when everyone said EVs would take over by 2025? Well, that's not exactly how it's playing out. Tesla's aggressive price war has thrown the entire electric market into chaos. We're seeing $145,000 Porsche Taycans collecting dust, while dealers are practically giving away some electric models with incentives I never thought we'd see. But here's the kicker. Certain EVs are still commanding premiums. It's not about being electric anymore. It's about being the right electric car. Now, let's talk about something that's affecting every single person watching this video. Money. Interest rates are doing something wild in 2025. While the Fed has hinted at easing, we're still seeing average car loans at around 7 to 8%. But here's what's really interesting. It's created this bizarre split in the market. You've got luxury buyers dropping $115,000 on Escalades like they're buying coffee, while the under $30,000 market has practically disappeared. Speaking of money, let me blow your mind with this statistic. The average new car price in early 2025 has hit $52,000. Think about that for a second. We've crossed the $50,000 mark, and it's changing everything about how people buy cars. You know what's crazy? People are taking out 84-month loans just to make the payments work. That's 7 years of car payments, folks. But here's where it gets really interesting for anyone thinking about buying a car right now. Inventory levels in 2025 are all over the place. Some dealers can't keep cars on their lots. I mean, look at Toyota moving nearly 60,000 RAV4s in just 45 days. But others? They've got cars sitting around so long they're probably going to need new tires before they're sold. And let me tell you about this wild shift in the luxury market. For the first time ever, we're seeing people actually cross-shopping new and used luxury cars at the same price points. Why? Because used car prices have finally started to normalize. But here's the thing. It's made new cars look like better deals in some cases. Crazy, right? Here's something nobody's talking about. Manufacturer incentives in 2025 are playing a completely different game. Some brands are throwing money at the problem. I'm talking $10,000 off in some cases. Others are holding firm on pricing, creating this weird situation where the same type of car might have a 30-day supply at one brand and a 300-day supply at another. So, what does all of this mean for you? Well, if you're in the market for a new car in 2025, you're either in the best position you've been in years, or you're facing an uphill battle. It all depends on what you're looking to buy. Here's what you need to do right now. First, check what's happening in your local market. Because while I've given you the national picture, your city might be telling a completely different story. I've seen Chargers sitting for 400 days in Miami but flying off lots in Detroit. That's the kind of intel that can save you thousands. But before you run off to do that, let me give you one more piece of advice that could literally save you thousands of dollars. If you're looking at any of the slow-selling cars we discussed today, do not, I repeat, do not pay anywhere near sticker price. With days supply numbers this high, dealers are more motivated than ever to move these vehicles. And trust me, they'd rather make a deal than watch these cars depreciate further on their lots. Now, here's something exciting. Next month's numbers are already starting to come in, and I'm seeing some shocking changes in these patterns. I'm talking about cars that were flying off lots suddenly hitting the brakes, and some slow sellers that are picking up serious momentum. If you want to stay ahead of these trends, Make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell, because timing is everything in this market. And here's a quick teaser. In our next video, I'm going to show you exactly how to negotiate on these slow-selling cars. I'm talking about the exact words to use, the best time to visit the dealership, and the secrets to getting the absolute best deal possible. You won't want to miss it, especially if you're looking at any of the cars we discussed today. Remember, in this 2025 market, knowledge isn't just power, it's money in your pocket. Whether you're looking at that dust-collecting Dodge Charger or trying to get your hands on a hot-selling Lexus GX, understanding these supply and demand patterns is your secret weapon at the dealership. Drop a comment below letting me know which of these cars surprised you the most, and if you're thinking about buying any of them. I read every comment, and I love hearing your real-world experiences with these trends we're tracking.